College is stressful. Along with it being a completely new environment, we often have to deal with the balancing act of academics, extracurriculars, and social life. So today I wanted to share 7 tips or pieces of advice that I wish I knew before coming into college. Hi, I'm Michael. I'm a student at Brown University. This video was inspired by Cal Newport's book, How to Win at College, which goes through 75 tips of things that he would advise to new college students. After reading the book, I wanted to take my own spin on things, and here are 7 major pieces of advice that I wish I had as a college student. The first tip that I would give is that sleep is underrated. Picture this, you go into your 9 a.m. class, you have a full day's work ahead of you, and you have an assignment that you really want to get started on. And you also wanted to study an hour for an exam that's coming up in a week, but the clock strikes 8, and after a pretty big dinner, it's just too much and you want to go take a nap. That is the one thing that you should not do. In general, taking naps, speaking from experience, is one of the worst ideas you can take in college. Although the idea of the power nap, a 20-minute stretch of sleep, has been touted as being an effective way to increase your rest. Speaking from experience in college, if you go back to your dorm room and lay in your bed, there's nothing productive that is going to get done within that span of time. So as a pointer, do not ever take a nap. If you're going to go to sleep, you might as well go for the full 8 to 9 hours of sleep, the full amount of sleep that you get on a regular night. And in general, it's important to find that specific amount of hours that is just right for you, because you want to balance being able to do stuff in your life, but also being sure that you're well rested and have the energy to do so. So take my word of advice, do not nap in college. You're just going to stay up studying later if that's the type of person you are, or you're just not going to get anything done. Besides that, find the right amount of sleep. The second piece of advice is to prioritize friendships. In general, college, as mentioned so often, is a stressful environment, and although it's very easy to get drowned in academics and to go and hide in your dorm room isolated from others, it is so important to go balance the stress of academic work along with some other social gatherings and social activities. In general, if we're going to talk about friendships, the one thing that I recommend is to have 1 or 2 very good close friends. Although it's nice to have such large groups of friends, it's also important to prioritize deeper relationships with 1 or 2 people that you would trust. In general, hanging out with someone one-on-one and developing some sort of vulnerability with somebody else is one of the key ways that you can truly find someone to console to in college when you've gone through a tough situation, or if you just want to talk about something personal. In college, when you're going to have to deal with the stress related to everything surrounding that environment, it's so important to have somebody that you can trust and talk to, because penting up all of the stress of college and your life is not healthy. So take my word of advice, prioritize deeper friendships, prioritize deep relationships. Be sure to prioritize having 1 or 2 really good close friends. Besides that, stay in touch with your friends from home. Just be sure to call without reason once a month to those people. Some sort of form of communication with those people back home is so important, not only because those people are the ones you've hung out with for so long and they know you so well, but also because when you get home from winter break and summer vacation, you're not gonna have anything to do if you've cut off your friends accidentally. Be sure to stay in touch. It's going to pay off in the long run, and you're going to feel so much better mentally and emotionally just because you have those different support systems within your life. The third tip I would recommend is study alone. A lot of professors recommend studying in groups, and although that could work in some certain situations, from my experience in college, studying alone is the most effective way to study. And although it sounds boring and not as fun, it is necessary in a sense to study by yourself so that you can get the information within your head and ensure you have a complex and complete understanding of the information necessary before an exam or before you go to class for a discussion. Even if you study in groups and you try to talk something or learn something from your friend, you're not truly making sure that you retain that information for yourself, because you're simply listening to it again. If you are able to explain a concept to yourself, that is 100% guarantee that you understand a subject much better than if you were to listen to someone try to explain it to you who has a better understanding of the subject than you do. In general, it's necessary to study alone, and one of the best ways to do this is to find your secret study spot. Libraries are obviously a great place to study if you can find a quiet place to do so, but finding random buildings I walked through so many random buildings just to see what there was to do in each building. I would walk into random buildings just to find a place, and you'd be surprised by how many empty rooms there are just for you to sit down and have some time to yourself to study. So I recommend finding some secret place you can study. Go far from your dorm room, as far as possible sometimes, just to be sure that you can study effectively. Again, going off this tip, do not study in your dorm room, because if you're going to study in your dorm room, it's bound to be set for failure because your bed is right there. Again, there's nothing productive that happens if you're just going to be in your dorm room. Get out of your dorm room, go find somewhere to study so that you can push yourself to finish that thing you have to do and stay on schedule with your academics. Also, study in 50-minute chunks. So if you're going to study for 2 or 3 hours, a good schedule for studying would be to study for 50 minutes and take a 10-minute break. Although it's tempting, I turn off my phone right when I have a scheduled study session. If you turn your phone back on, I've done it before with those 10-minute breaks, it's very easy to get carried away, especially if you're on social media. So during those 10 minutes, I recommend instead to just sit down, go take a break, drink some water, and think to yourself, maybe meditate even. That's the peak of productivity. But yeah, you can go on your phone for 10 minutes. Just having those 50-minute chunks are one of the most effective ways to incentivize yourself to work hard for those 50 minutes because you know you're going to get a 10-minute break after that. And then in general, it's better to study in 2 to 3 hour chunks. After you go about 3 hours even, you're not going to want to study as much, you're not going to be as productive. So it's better to have meals scheduled and classes scheduled in between those periods. My fourth piece of advice is to be heavily involved in one extracurricular activity. College has so much to offer in terms of extracurriculars. There are sports groups, academic groups, pre-professional groups, arts groups. You just need to find one group of people who you would look forward to seeing or look forward to spending time with. And that has helped me so much in college in terms of finding some sort of peace and enjoyment out of my everyday life. Having one club or extracurricular group that you are passionate about and can look forward to every week is so important to making sure that you can work effectively and productively with the idea that you're going to be able to enjoy yourself that one time a week, especially at that activity or just to see those people. My fifth piece of advice is to seek advice from older students. This may sound really simple, but college has so many professional clubs and organizations, and if you were to find one club organization that you can be a part of, it is so important to ask older students for help, whether it be how to apply to internships or how to apply to jobs, or just general life at college, what they recommend you do, or what they think is a great use of your time in college. There's so much knowledge from older students in terms of advice they can give to you, and people love giving advice or just being listened to. So if you want to talk to somebody or ask them, it doesn't hurt to ask them to talk about their life or what they recommend to do in college. With experience, you obviously learn so much about college life, so seek out older students' advice. My sixth piece of advice is to start large projects the day they are assigned, because that is one of the key ways to stop procrastination. Often in college, we see that we write final papers or study for final exams the day before they're due, which is all too common. But if we are, to example, have a paper and you just outline the paper the first day it's assigned, or think of a thesis the first day it's assigned, and ask your teacher what they think of a thesis, that is one step to beating procrastination. In terms of actually writing a paper, there are so many good ways to format and organize different types of papers, but a paper in general should be broken down into 3 different days or times, the first of which being compiling source material, the second being a rough draft, and finally editing. Besides that, studying for an exam, if you are able to spread it out over 2 weeks and study an hour each day, that is optimal and ideal. And of course, studying more than a few days or 2 days before the exam is necessary as well. But if you're able to keep a routine and schedule and prioritize studying and being effective in that, you're not going to need to pull large swaths of studying or writing and editing a paper, and you'll find that you'll enjoy the process much more. My seventh and final piece of advice is to organize your digital life. Firstly, is by making your email a sacred place that is not going to stress you out. And one of the best ways to do that is to reach inbox zero. And as weird as a term as that sounds, it's simply making sure that you archive each of your emails after you've dealt with the issue the email is concerning. So on Google, there's a simple archive button that you can click, but you can also set up a shortcut. I think E is the key that you can use to archive emails once you're looking at them. Besides that, time blocking your day on an online calendar, I use Google Calendar, is one of the best ways to make sure that you're on task and focused. In addition, scheduling your free time is so important because you're able to enjoy lunch and ensure that you are studying in an effective manner. For example, studying for 3 hours at most at a time and then taking a lunch break or a dinner break or a break to hang out with friends. But besides that, I recommend that you base your schedule around the time when you need to go to bed. So if you want to go to bed by 11 to wake up around 8, then you'd want to be in bed by around 10:30. You want to schedule dinner, studying, relaxation, all around that to ensure that you don't mess with your sleep. Going back to the first point, because sleep is so underrated. That's it for today. I hope this advice helped you. Let me know what you thought down below, and I'll see you next time. Bye.